anything can happen. All right, so here we go. Day 32 of all of that oil pouring into the Gulf of Mexico. BP now says it is worse than first thought. Here's another look. Live pictures right now from BP of the blown out well. Man, live pictures. That is happening right now. Company officials say they're siphoning about 5,000 barrels of oil a day from the damaged well, and they hope to cap it by next week. Meantime, the government told BP to use a different, less toxic dispersant on the oil slick. This is thick, gooey oil. We're not talking about tar balls here. We're not talking about sheen here. This stuff floating up on the Louisiana coast right now. As the oil slick grows, so does the outrage and frustration, especially among people worried about marine life in the Gulf of Mexico. Our Rob Marciano is in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Oh, wow. This is cool. What exactly am I looking at here?
Right now you're looking at some larvae of bluefin tuna, basically bluefin tuna babies.
Dr. Eric Hoffmeyer is a biologist at the University of Southern Mississippi Gulf Coast Research Lab. He has a team of scientists currently exploring Gulf waters near the oil slick.
They've been out there for about 4 or 5 days, and it's a planned 12-day trip.
Right now, their research vessel is near the southern edge of the spill. Biologist Jim Franks reports from the ship via satellite.
Loop current temperature today was 86 degrees. It's awfully warm.
Turns out that loop current getting all the press lately does more than just move warm water and potentially oil toward Florida. The current is a breeding ground for lots of marine life, including rare bluefin tuna.
You've got lots of nutrients entrained into the loop current, and so it becomes a signature for these animals to spawn around.
The Gulf is only one of 2 known bluefin spawning grounds. The other is in the Mediterranean. Hoffmeyer says bluefin tuna's sushi popularity, especially in Asia, has driven down the population 82%.
The problem we have is that they're tremendously overfished.
Another concern for Hoffmeyer's team is whale sharks, the largest fish on the planet. They can grow up to 60 feet long, and they also live in the Gulf of Mexico.
The oil spill is in prime essential whale shark habitat, primarily feeding habitat, and we're about in prime whale shark season.
So this is bad timing.
Very bad timing.
Aquatic toxicologist Dr. Joe Griffith has been studying the oil and the dispersants closely.
We have a saying in toxicology, the dose makes the poison. Anything is toxic in high enough concentrations or for a long enough exposure period.
The lab here is full of last year's samples. Biologists wonder if this year's larvae will come back as healthy.
I would think that a little guy like this, even if he gets into a little bit of sheen, that's not going to make it easy.
It's not, and most of these were collected in the top 10 meters of the water column, so most of these larvae are at or near the surface of the water.
So what does that make you think about when you start to hear about sheen getting into the loop current where these guys are?
It's not going to be good. I mean, it could have tremendous impacts on bluefin as well as other species.
Even without oil, those little guys, their success at the larvae stage is only about 2%, so odds are stacked against them to begin with. As far as the whale sharks are concerned, they're considered to be an indicator species, meaning if their numbers go down, that's an indication that the entire health of the ecosystem in the Gulf of Mexico goes down as well. But we won't know that for some time to come, Tony. It's going to be weeks, months, years as we follow this ongoing wildlife crisis out there in the Gulf of Mexico.
We are well past any discussion of tar balls now, aren't we, Rob, where you are?
Well, they continue to wash up on shore, at least down in western part of Mississippi, and they had about 200 pounds of them that they put in for testing yesterday. I just called, and those test results haven't come back yet, but there's all sorts of sources. There's so much hypersensitivity here. People are looking for stuff, and, may have been on the beach for years for all that matter. I can tell you this. No official reports, at least of tested tar balls that are associated with that spill along Mississippi beaches. I have never seen the beaches so clean here in Mississippi, and unfortunately for the tourism, there's not a whole lot of that going on. But the waters here are clear. That oil spill is well offshore, and it's looking pretty inviting to take a dip out there. I can tell you that right now.
All right, Rob, appreciate it. Thank you, Rob.